There is a part of you you pretend doesn't exist, a part you avoid, hide from, deny, push down, or bury beneath ambition, busyness, or distraction. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unseen side of your personality. Not evil, not dangerous, but ignored. And Jung believed that until you turn toward this hidden part of yourself, you will feel lost, unfulfilled, and fragmented, no matter how successful you become. Because you cannot become whole by abandoning pieces of your own soul. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. The shadow contains the emotions you suppress, the desires you deny, the memories you avoid, the fears you hide, the needs you pretend you don't have, the anger you judge, the sadness you don't voice, the wounds you never tended. Shadow work isn't about digging into darkness. It's about bringing light to the places you left without love. Because what you do not face does not disappear. It simply returns as anxiety, self-sabotage, unhealthy patterns, and relationships that feel like déjà vu. You are not broken. You are simply unconfronted. Jung understood something modern psychology repeats today. As a child, you adapted to survive. You learned what parts of you were loved, what parts were ignored, what parts triggered anger, what parts got approval, what emotions were acceptable, what traits were too much, what needs were inconvenient. Slowly, you split yourself in two, the self you show and the self you hide. The hidden self becomes the shadow, not because it was bad, but because it was too honest for the environment you grew in. Your authenticity became your exile. Your survival became your mask. And Jung believed that adulthood is the journey of undoing the mask and returning home to your real self. Jung noted that the shadow reveals itself during crisis. A breakup, a burnout, a betrayal, a spiritual collapse, a midlife unraveling. The feeling of I don't know who I am anymore. When life pulls away the distractions, the shadow steps forward, not to punish you, not to shame you, not to expose you, but to liberate you. It's saying, here is the part of you you abandoned. Take it back. Shadow work is soul retrieval. We often think the shadow only holds the negative. Jung disagreed. Inside your shadow is also your courage, your brilliance, your intuition, your creativity, your sensuality, your voice, your power, your depth. These went missing because you internalized shame. Jung famously wrote, "The gold is in the darkness," meaning your greatest potential lies in the part of you you've been afraid to touch. Shadow work is not analysis. It's not self-judgment. It's not reliving trauma. It is the simple act of bringing attention to the feelings, truths, and impulses you hid away. Shadow work sounds like, I am jealous. What is this jealousy trying to teach me? I am angry. Where is the boundary I have not set? I am insecure. What part of me needs protection? I am triggered. What wound is still unhealed? I want more. Why am I afraid to admit that? The shadow is not the monster. It is the child who thought it had to hide to be loved. You do not destroy the shadow. You integrate it. You become more, not less. Jung believed that the purpose of life is individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your truest self, not the self society demanded, not the self your parents preferred, not the self your trauma shaped, not the self your ego performs, but the self beneath all the layers. Individuation happens when you confront your shadow, honor your intuition, reconnect with your creativity, heal your inner child, integrate your wounds, recognize your projections, accept your contradictions, reclaim your power, embrace your wholeness. Individuation is not perfection. It is completion. A person who is whole no longer seeks validation or escapes truth or fears their own depth. They live from the center, not the mask. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." The modern world encourages more noise, more distraction, more stimulation, more comparison, more running away from yourself. Shadow work is the opposite. It is the radical act of turning inward, not to judge, but to understand, not to dissect, but to embrace, not to fix, but to accept. The healing you seek is waiting inside the shadow. The clarity you crave is waiting in silence. The life you want begins when you stop abandoning yourself. Take a breath. The part of you you've been afraid to meet is the part that's been waiting to free you. Shadow work is not a battle. It is a reunion, a returning, a remembering, a reclaiming. And when you integrate the parts of yourself you once rejected, you stop performing and start living. You stop seeking and start becoming. You stop fragmenting and start individuating. You become whole. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Your journey toward wholeness begins here,